Chapter 61, Old Tricks Repeated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After what felt like forever, Lin Yisin, stuffed and happy, finally left the secret room. She just didn't know when to stop. The treats were amazing, sure, but she couldn't just keep eating like that. She always forgot Lu Changjing's advice and pigged out. If she kept going, she'd end up a glutton like Tan Qingyun. Lu Changjing's jaw was starting to ache from hustling to get enough snacks for her. If he wasn't built like a tank, he'd probably be swollen up like a balloon. Pleasing a beautiful woman was definitely hard work, at least it wasn't like his past life. Back then, with all those girlfriends, scratch that, wives and concubines, he'd have been worked to death. Lin Yisin, light on her feet, tiptoed to the little hole in the skylight. She waved to Lu Changjing and slipped through, acting nothing like one of the top 10 concubines. Once she was gone, Lu Changjing's eyes landed on a corner some distance away. Hidden behind a bookshelf, another concubine had been following Lin Yisin. A low, dragon-like growl rumbled out as Lu Changjing instantly appeared next to Xiao Yaoxin, whose face was bright red. Before she could even react, he pulled her into his arms and silenced her with a kiss that numbed her lips. Just like with Lin Yisin, Lu Changjing pulled the same move, skipping straight to second base and stopping any protests with action. Faced with Lu Changjing's overwhelming dominance, his little wife quickly melted. Before her mind went completely blank, she finally understood why concubine Duan enjoyed this so much. This feeling was amazing. If they could consummate their marriage, it would be incredible. Unfortunately, His Majesty's secret technique wasn't perfected yet, so that was off the table for now. But what if she could help him break through early? Maybe she could even be the first to give him a prince. After a while, Lu Changjing finally released Xiao Yaoxin, who was now as white as a sheet. She was limp in his arms, completely dazed and nothing like her usual calm self. About concubine Zhen and concubine Duan sneaking in here to see me through the skylight, it's not their fault. I blame myself for not having enough self-control and giving in to temptation. But I haven't broken the spell, and I still want to master the art of hiding young as soon as possible. Only concubine Zhen, concubine Duan, and now you know about this. No one else. And concubine Zhen only found the skylight by accident, and concubine Duan secretly followed her to learn about it. I swear, I'm not trying to play favorites. The reason I'm keeping this a secret is because I'm not afraid of being lonely, I'm afraid of the perception of unfairness. I'm almost 30, and I've never been with a woman. On top of that, the art of hiding young is getting harder and harder to control, and I'm afraid I won't be able to resist your charms. I hope my beloved concubine can forgive me. You must tell no one. This stays between us. Once I perfect the art of hiding young, you'll be the first one I visit. Before Xiao Yaoxin could even ask, Lu Changjing had laid everything out, sounding suspiciously like he'd made similar promises to several other concubines. After all, every concubine wanted to give Lu Changjing his first child, especially a prince, giving their children a better shot at the throne. Even the most stoic concubines would lose their composure when it came to something so important for their children, just like concubine Jin Xiao Yaoxin. Plus, each concubine had powerful backers. Even if they didn't want to, there were plenty of people pushing them into it, like the Southwest Prince's mansion backing the imperial concubine, the Prime Minister's mansion behind the concubine, the Hulua Prince's mansion supporting concubine Duan, the richest man in Longjiang propping up concubine Zhen, and the Medicine King Valley behind concubine Jin. In that kind of environment, even Tan Qingyun, as simple as a child, knew she had to fight for her kids, so it was no wonder the concubines were so eager. It wasn't just about them, but about their children, relatives, and friends. Hearing Lu Changjing's promise, Xiao Yaoxin snuggled closer and whispered, I understand. Your Majesty has worked so hard. You've worked hard too. You've been alone in the palace since we married. It's all my fault. Lu Changjing held her tight, comforting her and taking the blame. They stayed close for a long time, until he was sure she was okay. Only then did he reluctantly send away this little medical genius, the most skilled alchemist and doctor among all the concubines in the harem. After seeing Xiao Yaoxin off, Lu Changjing couldn't help but sigh. First concubine Zhen, then concubine Duan, and now concubine Jean. The imperial study was turning into a regular party. He'd planned to hole up here and focus on his training, but the concubines kept sneaking in and causing trouble. If this kept up, his study would turn into a marketplace. He liked a variety of treats as much as the next guy, but his life was more important. If he died, how would he enjoy anything? Not to mention the consequences for the concubines. At best, they'd be banished to the cold palace. At worst, they'd be publicly executed. Even Ning Zhongyu, tolerant as he was, wouldn't hesitate to punish anyone who put horns on his head. Sigh. Lu Changjing sighed again. Concubine Zhen hadn't been careful enough, and concubine Duan had picked up on it. Concubine Duan hadn't been careful enough, and concubine Jean had noticed something was up. Who knew how many other concubines might be watching concubine Jean, waiting to see what she was up to, but then he thought about how concubine Jean had found out about concubine Duan. It was inevitable, he'd exposed himself, too. He'd have to focus on those three for now. He couldn't conjure up an endless supply of snacks, but he could manage enough for three. Besides, he needed a break from training every now and then. He could use that time to show his other concubine some love. Still, this gave Lu Changjing a renewed sense of urgency. He couldn't waste any time. If he couldn't level up his cultivation, he'd pour his energy into combat skills and secret techniques to become a better fighter. Okay, so he couldn't improve that much, but if he stayed within the 4th level, he could still make progress. As long as he didn't hit a bottleneck, he was good. He also had plenty of resources for improving his chi refining and body refining techniques, so he'd dedicate some time to those, too. It was his spirit cultivation that he'd mostly abandoned. Without treasures to speed things up, it was too slow, like watching paint dry. Lu Changjing couldn't handle it, so he'd put it on hold. Brother, Bao Bao misses you. Just as he'd made up his mind, he heard Tan Bao Bao's voice again. Chapter 62, Capture the Leader of the Jinwu Guards. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Changjing figured today must be his lucky day. How else could he explain 3 concubines, all in the know about the secret skylight entrance, showing up one right after another? Nursing his swollen lip, Lu Changjing plastered on a smile and greeted Tan Bao Bao, who was bouncing toward him. Hey, baby's here. Your brother's been missing you. Lu Changjing grinned, hugging Tan Qingyun's soft, petite frame. He eyed the food box, bigger than Lin Yisan's, and thought, practice makes perfect. That if he hadn't been training, he wouldn't even be able to finish Lin Yisan's box, let alone Tan Qingyun's. Meanwhile, his mental energy scan came up clean. He'd swept a 30-meter radius, ground, air, everything, and found no anomalies. It seemed Tan Qingyun was being careful and hadn't been spotted by Xuanhuan's spies. Only then did Lu Changjing relax and enjoy the imported goodies with Tan Qingyun. Several pounds of mystical fruit, meat, and wine vanished between the two of them. As the sky began to dim, Lu Changjing poked Tan Bao Bao's round belly and started to shoo the reluctant little one away. Dinner's coming soon, you gotta head back. Let baby lie down for a bit. I'm too stuffed to move, Tan Qingyun groaned. Lu Changjing kissed her. If you don't leave, the other concubines will get suspicious. Then we'll have another competitor. Concubine Duan almost blew it earlier, and concubine Jean caught on. Now she knows about the skylight too. Oh no. Tan Qingyun shot up, eyes wide. Concubine Xiao knows too. Lin Yisan is totally unreliable. She promised to be careful and only the two of us knew. How did concubine Xiao find out? I'm gonna go have words with her. Without any further prompting, Tan Qingyun grabbed her food box and hurried out of the imperial study. But as soon as she was gone, Lu Changjing's face darkened. He could clearly sense Cao Shuyuan, lurking about 10 meters away from the wall, watching Tan Qingyun's retreat. Cao Shuyuan was Xuanhuan's nephew, practically his adopted son, and his most promising protege. He commanded the Jinwu Guard, one of Bai Yujing's 36 elite forces. He was in charge of the 10,000 gold guards, responsible for guarding the imperial city. Despite only being a mid-level grandmaster, his influence surpassed many high-ranking grandmasters in the 36 guards. because they trusted Chao Shuyuan, Ning Zhongyu, and Chao Wenjing had put him in charge of guarding the imperial study. The place was crawling with Jinwu guards, mixed with a handful of eunuchs and maids. These eunuchs and maids were also under Chao Shuyuan's thumb. Any hint of trouble in Qianqing Palace or the imperial study would be immediately reported. He'd always known this day would come. With the concubines sneaking in and out more and more often, they were bound to slip up, but it had happened so fast. Luckily, he now had the strength to deal with it, just as Chao Shuyuan frowned, ready to report Tan Qingyin's visit to Chao Wenjing. The soul-picking hook, now at the Xiaocheng level, silently pierced into his mind. Chao Shuyuan had a spiritual defense weapon, but it was too weak to stop the soul-picking hook. Besides, he'd been caught off guard, too busy being surprised at concubine Shen's secret visit. He hadn't focused his defenses properly, and Lu Changjing's attack landed, a faint sound, barely audible. A wisp of Chao Shuyuan's soul was lured away by Lu Changjing and fell into his psychic domain. From now on, Lu Changjing could destroy Chao Shuyuan with a single thought. Chao Shuyuan was shocked and realized what had happened, but it was too late. Get in here. Don't let anyone see you. The whispered command made Chao Shuyuan jump. He found an unlocked window and slipped into the imperial study. Your Majesty. Besides the panic, Chao Shuyuan was also confused. Ning Zhongyu was the emperor. If he needed something, he could just give an order. Why go to the trouble of enslaving him with some mystical magic? It seemed pointless, but then he remembered his adoptive father's instructions. He hadn't been explicit, but he'd clearly been asked to supervise the emperor's every move, couched in more polite terms. Could that be why Lu Changjing had turned on him? At that thought, Chao Shuyuan's face paled and sweat broke out on his forehead. Chao Wenjing hadn't even told his own son about letting Lu Changjing impersonate Ning Zhongyu. The secret was so dangerous that the fewer people who knew, the better. If something went wrong, Chao Wenjing would be in deep trouble. As far as Chao Shuyuan was concerned, Lu Changjing in the imperial study was Ning Zhongyu, the real emperor. The thought that he might be an impostor had never crossed his mind. Lu Changjing glared at Chao Shuyuan, still kneeling on the floor. Chao Shuyuan, I know you're Chao Wenjing's nephew and practically his son. You're close to him. But if you're willing to turn against your own family for justice, I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll slaughter you, your parents, your relatives, your friends, and every last member of your family. Ah! Chao Shuyuan's face turned ashen. He kowtowed repeatedly. Your Majesty, just tell me what to do. I'll do anything. Please spare me. Lu Changjing stared down at him. Do you know why I took a piece of your soul, why I control your life and death? Your Majesty doesn't trust me, Chao Shuyuan said bitterly. I'm terrified, and I hope your Majesty will forgive me. Lu Changjing sneered. You know I don't trust you, but do you know why I don't trust you? It's because of my adoptive father. No, because of Chao Zhongguan. Chao Shuyuan guessed. Lu Changjing nodded. You're not stupid. It is because of Chao Wenjing. I used to trust him completely, but his behavior lately has been more and more disappointing. Chao Shuyuan fell silent. The very fact that Chao Wenjing had asked him to monitor the emperor's every move had felt like a betrayal. His adoptive father had taught the emperor cultivation since childhood and had served him diligently for years. He was in charge of the Jinwu, watching over civil and military officials, handling all the dirty work, but a minister was a minister, and his adoptive father was only a subordinate. How could he overstep like this? Chao Shuyuan had tried to talk him out of it, but Chao Wenjing wouldn't listen, and even told him to drop the subject, without offering an explanation. Now it seemed the chickens had come home to roost. Even if the emperor was obsessed with cultivation, he wasn't a fool. Chapter 63 The First Step to Become the Emperor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chao Wenjing never imagined that the secrecy he embraced for safety would end up helping Lu Changjing. Chao Shuyuan, already suspicious of Chao Wenjing, didn't need Lu Changjing to spell things out. He put two and two together. To save himself and his entire family from execution, Chao Shuyuan knelt before Lu Changjing and confessed that his adoptive father's actions were excessive and looked like rebellion. Chao Wenjing hadn't adopted Chao Shuyuan out of affection. He'd done it because Chao Shuyuan was the most talented and promising young member of the Chao family. Chao Shuyuan had reached mid-level master status by his early hundreds. He had a real shot at becoming a grand master and preserving the Chao family's legacy. That's why Chao Wenjing had nurtured him so carefully. But Chao Shuyuan wasn't a blood relative, and this involved the life or death of his family. Chao Shuyuan didn't want to die, and he didn't want his family wiped out. Plus, he thought Chao Wenjing was going too far, so he decided to throw himself on Lu Changjing's mercy. "From now on, I'm only loyal to your majesty." "You have my word," Lu Changjing nodded, satisfied. "Good. You're not betraying Chao Wenjing, you're saving the Chao family. If you follow Chao Wenjing, I might have to wipe out the entire Chao family. But since you've surrendered, it means not everyone in the family has betrayed me. Everyone but Chao Wenjing will be pardoned." "Thank you, your majesty. I'll never side with Chao Wenjing again." Chao Shuyuan kowtowed, selling Chao Wenjing down the river completely. He also volunteered to be Lu Changjing's eyes and ears, monitoring Chao Wenjing while pretending to spy on the emperor for him. Lu Changjing, pleased with Chao Shuyuan's quick thinking, immediately used the soul-stealing technique from the soul-picking secret scripture to check his memories and see if he was telling the truth. Chao Shuyuan readily agreed to this loyalty test, opening his mind to Lu Changjing. After the soul-stealing, Lu Changjing confirmed Chao Shuyuan wasn't lying and got a ton of dirt on Chao Wenjing. He nodded in satisfaction. As a bonus, Lu Changjing also acquired several medium and high-level spiritual weapons from Chao Shuyuan, doubling his combat power and barely offsetting his equipment disadvantage. With Chao Shuyuan on his side, Lu Changjing finally felt more secure. With Chao Shuyuan's help, he could know Chao Wenjing's movements in advance, and with Chao Shuyuan covering for him, he was less likely to get caught. He also got a stash of cultivation resources from Chao Shuyuan, many of which had been given to him by Chao Wenjing, which more than made up for Lu Changjing's deficit in that area. Chao Shuyuan was only a mid-level grandmaster, but with his spiritual weapons and other tricks, even a high-level grandmaster would have trouble with him. That's what qualified him to lead the Jinwu Guard, one of Baiyujing's 36 guards. Otherwise, even with Chao Wenjing as his adoptive father, he wouldn't have stood a chance. Each of the 36 guards had at least 1,000 soldiers, and some had tens of thousands, totaling around 800,000. Every guard was a top-tier warrior, hand-picked from across the dynasty. Even the lowest-ranked one was above the 4th level. They knew battle formations and secrets that could easily suppress tens of thousands of ordinary troops. If all 36 guards were deployed, they could sweep across the entire Daning dynasty. They were the most elite troops in the land. The Jinwu Guard, responsible for guarding the Qianqing Palace, was the cream of the crop. Each of the 10,000 Jinwu Guards was a warrior above the 7th level. In the civilian world, they would be considered top-notch masters, capable of founding their own sects and living the good life, but they were just regular soldiers in the Jinwu Guard. That shows you how elite the Jinwu Guard was. 10,000 Jinwu Guards in formation could make even a grandmaster think twice. Though there were no grandmasters in the Jinwu Guard, they had more masters than any other guard. Getting Chao Shuyuan on his side was basically equivalent to taking control of the Jinwu Guard. Even though he was a relative, Chao Shuyuan had been in the Jinwu Guard for years and knew it inside and out. He often got perks for the Jinwu Guard from Chao Wenjing, so the soldiers respected and trusted him more than they did Chao Wenjing. That's why Lu Changjing targeted Chao Shuyuan first. Otherwise, he wouldn't have wasted a precious soul-picking opportunity. With Chao Shuyuan as his bodyguard, Lu Changjing felt safer in the palace. This also gave Lu Changjing hope of successfully replacing Ning Zhongyu. The magnificent Great Ning dynasty, with its vast lands and billions of people, held too many resources and treasures to give up. Besides, he was close to Tan Qingyun, Lin Yisan, Xiao Yaoxin. He wouldn't abandon them easily. The harem women had been a big help, even though they didn't know he was a fake. Lu Changjing had been the one to reap the benefits. Even if it came with responsibility, Lu Changjing wouldn't walk away. After sending Chao Shuyuan out on patrol to monitor Chao Wenjing, Lu Changjing started practicing. With Chao Shuyuan as his man, Lu Changjing could start being bolder, putting some of his previous ideas into action. 10 days later, Tan Qingyun snuck into the imperial study again with a food box full of goodies. Even though Xuanhuan was now on his side, Lu Changjing stuck to the old routine, just in case. Besides, the Qianqing palace wasn't just guarded by the Jinwu guard, there were imperial guards, eunuchs, and palace maids, too. People from other palaces often came to the Qianqing palace, so they couldn't risk getting caught. Seeing Tan Baobao in a loose dress, Lu Changjing's eyes lit up. He quickly pulled her into an embrace, making her blush and stuff imported grapes in his mouth to shut him up. In her panic, she dropped the grapes down his collar. Lu Changjing had to help find them. It took him half an hour, but he finally got to eat the grapes with a hint of body fragrance. Chapter 64 Glass Making. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a meal that stretched well over an hour, Lu Changjing finally stopped, leaving Tan Baobao glistening with sweat. As his feelings for Tan Baobao deepened, their time together evolved beyond just indulging in imported delicacies. They found other ways to enjoy each other's company. He wished that Songyang technique was further along. Perfecting it was proving to be a long and arduous process, and Lu Changjing had no idea when he'd master it. Thankfully, even in its incomplete state, the benefits were noticeable, a fact that provided some solace. He decided it was best to wait until the technique was perfected and his special endowment awakened before considering breaking through his current skill level. He figured 3 years should be enough time. That long would also give him ample opportunity to improve his cultivation. Provided he could get his hands on enough resources and treasures, which brought him to the other, less romantic, aspect of his relationship with Tan Baobao. Sweetheart, isn't your father the richest man in Longjiang? How's business these days? Lu Changjing asked, holding Tan Qingyun close. The Daning dynasty was defined by 4 major river systems, which covered pretty much the whole country. The Huangsha, Longjiang, Kungsu, and Luoping. Baiyujing was situated near the Longjiang, and its middle and lower reaches were among the wealthiest regions in the dynasty. The fact that Tan Qingyun's father, Tan Qianqian, held the title of the richest man in the area spoke volumes. It was thanks to him that Tan Qingyun had been able to bring Lu Changjing such a steady stream of impressive gifts lately. Every time she came, it was a feast of imported foods, spiritual fruits, rare wines. It was enough to make his head spin, and he often spent days digesting everything after she left. Thinking about the resources and treasures he needed for his cultivation, Lu Changjing's mind naturally went to Tan Baobao's father, the richest man in Longjiang. Tan Qingyun nestled her face against his chest. Business is booming. I get so many amazing things every month, more than I can use, hee. That's great. I have something I want to give your father. It's important that no one else knows about it. Could you find some time to go home soon? Lu Changjing took Tan Baobao's fidgeting hands in his. Tan Qingyun asked, all curiosity, what is it? The recipe for making glass. Lu Changjing pulled a piece of paper from his Qingkong divine ring, detailing the process. It was a simple thing, really, but something most people wouldn't know unless they'd specifically sought out the information. Lu Changjing knew it because he'd read a few time travel novels in his past life and picked it up from there. It was exciting stuff at the time, so he'd filed it away. Never thought he'd actually use it one day. Glass didn't exist in this world. People usually used bronze mirrors, or just looked at their reflection in the water. The royal family used more refined mirrors made of special jade, but those were incredibly expensive, out of reach for even most wealthy people. Bronze mirrors were notoriously blurry, so if he could produce glass and sell it as mirrors, he'd corner the market. And beyond mirrors, glass could be used for cups, ornaments, windows. The possibilities were endless, and the profits would be astronomical. Tan Qianqian's financial houses and businesses were all over the Daning dynasty, and even into neighboring countries. Getting him to help manufacture and sell glass would be the most profitable path for Lu Changjing, so, he was enlisting Tan Qingyun to reach out to Tan Qianqian. As for whether Tan Qianqian would steal the recipe, highly unlikely. Lu Changjing was still nominally the emperor of the Daning dynasty, and the Tan family's operations were largely within its borders. If anyone dared to screw him over, a word from him could ruin them, forcing them to give back everything they'd taken. Who in the great Ming dynasty would dare steal from him? At least, not while he could keep his identity secret. Tan Qingyun took the paper. Glass? What's glass? I've never heard of it. Glass is an incredibly useful material. Lu Changjing gave her a basic overview of its appearance, uses, and how it was made. Tan Qingyun's eyes widened. This sounds amazing. How did you find out how to make glass, brother? If it works, you could make a fortune. I stumbled across it. I tested it out, and it's legit. Lu Changjing didn't say he'd invented it himself. He didn't want to arouse suspicion. Ning Zhongyu wasn't exactly known as an inventive genius. You know the situation with the Royal Secret Treasury and the National Treasury. We're strapped for cash, so I need to find ways to make money, and this glass thing seemed perfect. You can give it to your father. I'm willing to split the glass profits 50-50, but only you, me, and your father can know about this for now. It was a little risky, sure, but he trusted her father's good reputation and her discretion, plus, his current situation demanded that he get his hands on resources and treasures, so it was worth the gamble. Let's face it, even getting involved with Tan Qingyun was a bit of a risk. Tan Qingyun carefully tucked away the glass-making method. Don't worry, brother. I'll see my father soon and get him to agree. Though, 50% is too low. He should only get 30% and you should keep 70%. What a thoughtful daughter. Lu Changjing's affection wasn't misplaced, he had fed her so many imported delicacies. I'm only providing the method. Your father will be doing all the work. 50% is more than fair. Lu Changjing said with a smile. You can't expect a horse to run if it's not fed. Even as the emperor of the Daning dynasty, he couldn't push too hard. Otherwise, even if his father-in-law said nothing, he might slack off, and Lu Changjing's potential profits would plummet. Better to ensure everyone got a good cut. They'd probably end up making even more in the long run. Even though she spent most of her time eating, drinking, and having fun, as the daughter of the richest man in Longjiang, Tan Qingyun recognized the immense value of glass. Even with only 30% of the profits, it would still be an astronomical sum for her father. Besides, her father wasn't exactly hurting for money, but her brother was so broke he'd probably have to pawn his pants. It was only right to help him out and give him a bigger share. Chapter 65, The Open-Minded Father-in-Law. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even though Tan Qingyun was laying it on thick, let's be real, Lu Changjing wasn't exactly Mr. Independent yet. Everything he owned, from head to toe, had either been gifted by his concubines or lifted from Cao Shuyuan, and, of course, all his resources and treasures came the same way. Even his clothes were Ning Zhongyu's hand-me-downs, even though Ning Zhongyu hadn't actually worn most of them. Good thing Tan Baobao had the smarts to see through Lu Changjing's freeloading tendencies and decided to help him out. After shooing away the clingy Tan Qingyun, Lu Changjing got back to practicing. The glass-making process was just the tip of the iceberg. If Tan Qianshan was legit, there'd be even cooler stuff coming down the line, like the gunpowder recipe, which he'd also picked up from time travel novels. Who studies that stuff seriously? If glass-making and gunpowder weren't classic, awesome plots in those books, Lu Changjing wouldn't have paid them any mind back then, and he definitely wouldn't remember them so clearly. Turns out they're useful now, so thanks to all those time travel writers from my past life, glass could make money, sure, but it mostly meant ordinary gold and silver, not spirit stones, and while you could trade gold, silver, and spirit stones, they were often out of stock. You could overpay for gold and silver and still not get spirit stones, high-level spiritual stuff. Forget about it. You couldn't buy that with gold or silver, and even spirit stones weren't a guarantee. The mind-calming pill was one example of a great item that was always out of stock. Then there was Wuyang Bird, Silver Dragon Blood, the Mountain Spirit Sword, all super rare treasures, so even if the glass recipe brought in a ton of cash, it wouldn't guarantee him the resources he needed for cultivation. He'd need to offer something better to the big shots, and gunpowder was the perfect thing. Gunpowder packed a serious punch, even against masters, so it would definitely fetch a high price. Then he could trade it for the cultivation resources he needed to level up. Tan Qingyun took Lu Changjing's words to heart and bolted out of the palace the next day to meet with her dad, Tan Qianshan. When Tan Qianshan, Longjiang's richest man, saw the glassmaking method, he was blown away. He saw a potential fortune that could rival a country's wealth, even surpass the Tan family's current holdings. I never knew His Majesty had something so valuable. He really is a king with a trick or two up his sleeve. He probably doesn't want anyone to know, you know. Doesn't want people thinking the emperor's involved in business, and he probably doesn't plan to hand over the money to the royal or national treasury. Okay then, we'll keep this a secret between us. As for the split, the Tan family will take 20%, and His Majesty gets the other 80% of the profits. Tan Qingyun was shocked that her father was being so generous. Before she could suggest a 70/30th split, he'd already changed it from 50/50ths to 80/20, and judging by his smile, even with only 20% of the profits, it would still be a crazy amount of money. Tan Qingyun happily agreed, but, thinking about her brother's recent lack of cultivation resources, she subtly mentioned to her dad that the royal and national treasuries were empty. Tan Qianshan was surprised to hear this. He hadn't realized the emperor was so broke he was selling off royal assets just to pay for disaster relief, to butter up His Majesty and secure his daughter's position in the harem. He immediately pulled out a ton of cultivation resources, all perfect for mid to high-level masters, including treasures like the mind-calming pill. He figured he could earn all that back sooner or later with the glassmaking method. Sure, glass was mostly traded for gold and silver, not spirit stones or other spiritual items. But that depended on who was holding the goods. As Longjiang's richest man, Tan Qianshan had plenty of ways to turn gold and silver into spirit stones, even if it meant paying a premium. Everyone knew there was a wall between the universal currency used by warriors and the universal currency used by masters, otherwise the prices in Shenzhou would have been chaos a long time ago, and even if there wasn't such a huge value difference between the two, the people in charge wouldn't allow free exchange because it would mess up the market, so, using regular gold and silver to get spiritual items would be a real headache for Lu Changjing. If Lu Changjing wasn't the emperor and his son-in-law, Tan Qianshan wouldn't have bothered. Doing this would definitely cost him. Loaded up with goodies, Tan Qingyun returned to the palace with a smile, went straight to the imperial study, and snuck in through that little skylight hole, looking at the food box overflowing with spirit stones, pills, and medicines. Lu Changjing was stunned. He hadn't expected his father-in-law to be so generous, handing over so much good stuff as soon as he got the glass recipe. The most touching part was that the 50/50 split had become 80/20ths, and he was only taking 20% of the profit. Tan Qingyun even had the paperwork for him to sign and seal. How could anyone not trust such a thoughtful and generous father-in-law? Without much hesitation, Lu Changjing pulled out the gunpowder recipe. This was the real treasure he was going to trade Tan Qianshan. This stuff could blow up tanks back in his previous life. Most of the masters in this world couldn't match the defense of a tank, and they couldn't keep their true chi shields up all the time. Even if they did, a weak shield wouldn't save them. Explosives weren't spiritual items, but they were just as valuable. Best part was the cost was super low, the effect was huge, and they could be traded for tons of spiritual items. He could sell it for 10 times the price, maybe even 100. After getting the gunpowder recipe, Tan Qianshan almost lost it. The glassmaking could make the Tan family rich, sure, but he didn't expect His Majesty to have a treasure like this. The cost was lower than ordinary mortal tools, but it could make a one-time use weapon that could hurt masters. Unbelievable. If he played his cards right, he could make 1,000 times the profit. After a quick test confirmed it was the real deal, Tan Qianshan immediately told Tan Qingyun to send Lu Changjing several times more resources and treasures. This time, instead of 80/20ths, it was 90 out of 10. Even then, Tan Qianshan felt like he was getting a steal. The profits from gunpowder were just too insane. Chapter 66 New Features. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In addition to reducing the gunpowder share to 91%, Tan Qianshan also reduced the glass share to the same amount. Clearly, he figured a 91% cut was enough for the Tan family to rake in serious cash, leaving a respectable 9% for the emperor. This move cemented Lu Changjing's respect for his father-in-law. No wonder he was the richest man in Longjiang. His vision and business acumen were off the charts. Lu Changjing doubted he'd have the guts to do the same, especially after seeing the potential profit from glass and gunpowder. thanks to his father-in-law's backing, Lu Changjing was drowning in resources, even more than all the perks he'd gotten from his concubines before, excluding the Qinkong divine ring. Of course, that ring was priceless. A one-of-a-kind item even the richest man in Longjiang couldn't put a price on, with Tan Qianqian's generous gifts of resources and treasures. Lu Changjing could definitely reach the high-level master stage, and that included spiritual cultivation. He'd initially thought he'd have to wait for the glass and gunpowder businesses to take off before getting access to this level of support. His father-in-law had really surprised him. Now he could work on his qi, physical strength, and spiritual cultivation all at the same time. Of course, combat skills and secret techniques still needed serious practice. His physical condition was still lagging behind, so a breakthrough to the 5th level master was out of the question for now. With enough resources and Cao Shuyuan now on his side, life was good. Lu Changjing could focus more time and energy on cultivation. While his cultivation level was improving steadily, his combat skills and secret techniques were growing even faster. The Imperial Sword skill had reached level 5, the second soul-picking hook was in development, the Shocking Tribulation and the Diamond Tribulation were complete. The Heavenly Illusion Tribulation and the God-Slaying Tribulation were in progress. The Imperial Wandering Dragon Step was nearing mastery, the soul-picking technique was getting close to mastery, the soul-stealing technique and the soul-changing technique were introduced. Lu Changjing's life was fulfilling as he made steady progress. He didn't have time to be bored, even if he couldn't level up his cultivation like crazy. Before he knew it, 200 days had passed since Lu Changjing had arrived in this world. The physical boost from the immortal demon body alone had reached 200 points, putting him on par with some mid-level body refining masters. Combined with the gains from his 4th level body refining cultivation and the constant infusion of pure yang energy, Lu Changjing's physical strength was now about 500 times that of the average person. His defense, in particular, was insane, thanks to the 5 elements golden body technique. After absorbing countless 5 elements treasures, his defenses were off the charts. Honestly, even if a mid-level master went all out on Lu Changjing with a mid or low-level spiritual weapon, they wouldn't be able to scratch him. High-level and top-level spiritual weapons could still do some damage, but it depended on who was wielding them. His current defense was better than Ning Zhongyu's and even Cao Wenzheng's. And Cao was a grandmaster. Ning Zhongyu was only a low-level master in terms of physical training, and Cao Wenzheng wasn't much better. This ever-growing physique had also boosted Lu Changjing's lifespan to around 550 years. Normally, only grandmasters lived for close to 500 years. Lu Changjing's lifespan now surpassed that of a grandmaster. His endurance was also amazing, about 300 times that of a normal person, though not as crazy as his defense, and due to his physical enhancements, his talent and aptitude had also increased nearly tenfold. Add to that the improvements from the blood exchange realm, hair removal and marrow washing, and he was nearly 1 in a million. Speed, reflexes, senses, everything had been amplified. His foundation was rock solid. In other words, Lu Changjing was ready to prepare for the breakthrough. With his current physique, he could probably handle the pressure and damage of the breakthrough, so Lu Changjing decided to step up his cultivation. Soon, he'd break through his qi refining cultivation first, then work on his physical and spiritual cultivation. Not long after the immortal demon body gave him that 200-point boost, Lu Changjing unlocked a new trait, silent movement. Just as the name implied, he could move without making a sound, allowing him to sneak up on enemies and deliver a lethal strike. Combined with his stealth trait, Lu Changjing could become a real assassin, especially at night, where he also had night vision. With these 3 traits combined, Lu Changjing was almost invincible at night, even against stronger opponents. One might ask, if physical training gave his physique such a boost, why didn't he unlock any cool traits from that? As explained before, physical training could enhance his body, but it wasn't a comprehensive improvement. There were some things physical training just couldn't affect. The physical boost from the immortal demon body, on the other hand, was all-encompassing. There were no real weaknesses. It was a top-to-bottom enhancement, so it could unlock various traits, but ultimately, the immortal demon body was simply more powerful. Continuing to improve physical training would also lead to special talents, but they'd be rare, not nearly as common as with the immortal demon body. Improving physical training didn't boost his talent, or his comprehension, memory, or understanding. Those were things that physical training just couldn't do. The immortal demon body held all sorts of secrets. Lu Changjing didn't know how powerful the immortal demon body was, but it was a level that Lu Changjing couldn't even imagine. Your Majesty, I've come to see you too. Just after reading the memorial, Lu Changjing heard a shy voice behind him. His eyes lit up when he saw Xiao Yaoxin, the beautiful concubine Jin, looking bashful. She looked stunning with her white eyebrows and beautiful eyes. Her eyes were bright, and her figure was slender and graceful. She looked gorgeous, her eyebrows were long and graceful, her beauty was unique and she was exquisite, compared to Rong Xiao, whose beauty was so dazzling. Xiao Yaoxin was like a delicate orchid, standing out from the crystal-clear ice and snow, leaving people mesmerized. Lu Changjing was stunned, especially thinking about how he would soon be able to get intimate with this beautiful concubine Jin. The pure yang qi in his body began to stir, rapidly enhancing and improving every part of his body. Chapter 67 This is about me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Yaoxin, holding a lunchbox, was obviously trying to emulate Lin Yisan, concubine Jin, usually so composed, was flustered because it was her first time asking for imported delicacies. Lu Changjing, a seasoned lover, immediately stepped in, embracing the shy concubine Jin as he guided her toward their private chambers. They were, after all, husband and wife, married for several years. A little spontaneity wasn't out of line. Lu Changjing was surprised to find that most of what Xiao Yaoxin brought were tonic herbs, the kind you could eat raw, like some kind of superfood. However, being medicinal, they had a slightly bitter taste. They needed some preparation to make them palatable. Luckily, concubine Jin, who'd been around herbs her whole life, was a pro. She quickly processed a whole bunch of these imported herbs for Lu Changjing, but she still couldn't keep up with his appetite. Before, watching Lin Yisan prepare these treats, concubine Jin had only felt a little embarrassed, maybe even a touch of longing, but now, actually making them, Xiao Yaoxin realized she'd been a little too ambitious and brought way too many herbs. Fortunately, Lu Changjing occasionally imported some delicacies back to her, to replenish her energy, or she would have been totally wiped out. After this imported delicacies exchange, they grew much closer, and Lu Changjing started calling Xiao Yaoxin by her childhood nickname. Now, apparently, she'd been a noisy kid, hence the name. This really surprised Lu Changjing. He never imagined the normally calm concubine Jin could be so lively. Xiao Yaoxin stopped calling him Your Majesty and switched to Brother Jing. It was a little odd that she called him Brother Jing instead of Brother Ning or Brother Yu, but Lu Changjing spun it as an exclusive pet name, and Xiao Yaoxin felt much closer. After all, she did have an exclusive nickname for him, even if it sounded a little weird and she'd never heard it before. Xiao Yaoxin had originally wanted to call him Brother Yu. They were so intimate now, Your Majesty felt awkward, but Lu Changjing couldn't let her call Ning Zhongyu by name, so he pulled out a forgotten nickname from his past life. He planned to use similar tactics on the other concubines he had a thing for. Lu Changjing really didn't want to hear his women calling Ning Zhongyu by name. If Ning Zhongyu knew about this, he'd probably have a heart attack. These were his concubines in his harem, but it sounded like they were all falling for Lu Changjing. Was there no justice? He was the one who'd gone through the marriage ceremony and paid the dowry, but he wasn't the one getting close to them, and probably wouldn't be the one in the bridal chamber either. Any other guy would be spitting nails right now. After sending the slightly out-of-it concubine Jin Xiao Yaoxin back to her quarters, Lu Changjing immediately started his cultivation practice. He'd just consumed a ton of imported delicacies, and the medicinal energy was surging through him, threatening to overwhelm him. He needed to process it ASAP. If all went well, this wave of medicinal energy should be enough to push him to the next level of qi refining. As he digested the medicinal energy, the imperial qi in Lu Changjing's body increased at a visible rate. Before long, he'd reached his peak. Still, a lot of the energy remained. Lu Changjing hesitated for a moment, then went for it, attacking the bottleneck. Bang. Bang, a huge amount of imperial qi gathered and slammed against the bottleneck. Despite the jarring collision, Lu Changjing felt no tremors. Clearly, his spiritual channels and dantian were much stronger than before and could handle the impact. Bang. Bang. Bang, Lu Changjing increased the power and speed of his breakthrough attempts. His body now trembled several times more than before. At this rate, his power was significantly stronger than a normal level 4 master, so he should be fine. Actually, when enhancing physical cultivation, the growth of the spiritual channels and dantian are limited, nowhere near the increase in defenses, strength, speed, etc., on the body's surface. The difference can be quite large. If a cultivator's physical defenses improve a little after a physical cultivation breakthrough, the resilience of the dantian and spiritual channels might increase by 0.1, the improvement in the internal organs is a bit larger, maybe around 0.5, though the heart is an exception. The heart and blood vessels also improve dramatically. After all, blood vessels are the pathways for qi, blood, and spirit blood, which are fundamental to physical cultivation. However, the immortal demon body is different. It's an all-around upgrade. In this case, the improved spiritual channels and dantian stem mainly from the body-strengthening properties, the resilience of the spirit qi, internal organs, blood vessels, and even the heart are all taken into account. Of course, when qi refining breaks through, there's less room for enhancement compared to physical cultivation, and the same holds true for spirit refining. Crack. As he expected, the breakthrough was inevitable this time. After only half an hour, cracks began to appear on the bottleneck. With a small smile, Lu Changjing methodically continued his assault, maintaining his focus. He was totally absorbed in the process, giving it his all. Boom. After a cup of tea, the bottleneck shattered, and Lu Changjing's qi refining entered a new realm, level 5 pulse casting, a level 5 master. You could call him a mid-level master. The Daning dynasty had hundreds of masters, mostly low-level. Mid-level masters only made up about 20%, a little over 100. High-level masters were roughly 10%, less than 100. And top-level grandmasters were even rarer, just a dozen or so. That was the pinnacle of combat power in the Daning dynasty. Anyone who reached the master realm was considered one in a million. What's more, Lu Changjing practiced the Huangji divine art system, and his spiritual weapon was at least mid-level. He'd also mastered top-tier divine skills and arts, so, his comprehensive strength was now on par with ordinary high-level masters, placing him in the top 100 in the Daning dynasty. He'd reached the high-level grandmaster level in just over half a year. The power of his golden finger was undeniable, but much of his progress was also due to his efforts, day in and day out, month after month, with almost no rest, coupled with his shameless mooching. He'd finally reached this point, as the saying goes, where there's a will, there's a way. After burning their boats and crossing the Qin Pass, Chu finally belongs to Chu. Those who work hard will not be disappointed. After sleeping on firewood and tasting gall, 3,000 you soldiers can swallow Wu. That this was clearly about him. Chapter 68 The Second Soul Extraction Target. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Changjing didn't let up after leveling up. He kept training and refining his skills. Once his new power felt solid, he started on the 5th spiritual vein. Breaking past the initial hurdle makes it easier to forge spiritual veins, as long as you've built up enough imperial true qi. Mostly, it just takes time, effort, and the right resources. Xiao Yaoxin, true to her Yaowang Valley roots, brought a whole box of potent medicinal goodies for their little foodie hangout. Lu Changjing, a glutton at heart, devoured every last crumb. Xiao Yaoxin barely touched a tenth of it. He polished off the rest. If he wasn't so physically tough, he probably would have exploded. It took hours to fully absorb all that medicinal power, and by then, he was already halfway through forging his 5th spiritual vein. That gives you some idea of just how potent those meds were. Of course, progressing that fast left him a little unstable, like he was losing control. Luckily, midnight rolled around pretty quickly, giving his physique another boost. Like a tree sending down deeper roots, this helped him shore up his shaky foundation, making it solid again. Still, it'd take some time to adjust, more than just a few minutes. Most fighters who level up quickly need to spend ages consolidating their base, so adjusting is the least of their worries. But Lu Changjing was the exception. Solidifying his foundations was a breeze for him. He didn't even need extra potions. But adjusting to his new power took way longer than stabilizing his base. Which was just one of the quirks of his training. Before he could even get used to his juiced-up qi, Lu Changjing had already bred the second soul-picking hook. Thanks to the small-level soul-picking skill, he could use the newly spawned hook right away, but he still planned to hone it a bit before using it. He could polish the second hook while simultaneously breeding the third, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. He could only breed 1 hook at a time, otherwise, he would have made multiple hooks at the same time. The higher the level of the soul-picking skill, the stronger the soul-picking hook it creates. If an entry-level hook has a power of 1, a minor success level hook has a power exceeding 3. While the power of a hook can be increased after creation, it's ultimately limited by the level of soul-picking and cannot exceed it. Right now, his soul-picking skill was only at the minor success level, so his hook could only be upgraded to that level at best. But it was still good enough to use against fighters with similar spiritual power, and even if someone was spiritually stronger, he still had a shot at taking them down, with the right strategy. Of course, Xuanhuan was still off the table as a target, mostly because he was a grandmaster. Cao Shuyuan had mentioned that Xuanhuan's true spiritual cultivation was at the first-level master level, but he was protected by a high-level spiritual weapon, plus, his qi was high enough to weaken and resist spiritual attacks, so his chances of snagging the soul weren't great. Rather than risk it with Xuanhuan, he'd be better off nabbing a piece of Kai Gu's soul. Kai Gu was Xuanhuan's right-hand man, the commander of the Jinwu, and currently its only commander. The other commander was badly hurt during the demon suppression thing and wasn't recovering, making Kai Gu the lone wolf. He was a 6th-level master, close to 7th, and had been consistently outperforming Cao Shuyuan, but Cao Shuyuan had a stronger spiritual weapon, so who would win in a real fight was anyone's guess. Even though he was only a mid-level master, his gear and trump cards made Kai Gu just as tough as your average high-level master. With Xuanhuan swamped with work and being the big cheese eunuch, Kai Gu handled most of the Jinyui's operations. Snagging Kai Gu would basically mean taking over most of the Jinwu, which would give Lu Changjing a massive edge in understanding Xuanhuan's moves. Lu Changjing had originally planned to nab the deputy chief eunuch. After all, this eunuch commanded most of the eunuchs in the palace and was the most powerful eunuch after Xuanhuan. There were tons of eunuchs in the Qianqing palace, and a lot of them were tasked with keeping tabs on him. If he could control that eunuch, it'd boost Lu Changjing's safety a lot, but after thinking about how the Jinwu kept an eye on the officials and the palace staff, Lu Changjing figured it'd be more valuable to capture Kai Gu. Kai Gu also outranked the 2 deputy chief eunuchs and could keep them in check. Most importantly, the Jinwu was a military outfit, as powerful as, or even more so than, the Jinwu. If they could off Xuanhuan, Kai Gu could immediately step into his shoes and become the head of the Jinwu. With both the Jinwu and Jinwu under his belt, Lu Changjing would be a lot safer in the palace. The Jinwu wasn't just one of the 36 guards of Baiyujing, it was an independent group with way more power and influence than any of those guards. Once he made up his mind, Lu Changjing spent more time refining the soul-picking hook while looking for a chance to grab Kai Gu. A few days later, the second hook was almost perfect, and it was time to get moving, and as luck would have it, Xuanhuan had left Baiyujing for a couple of days to hash out some shady deal with a top demon king in a nearby city. Perfect timing for Lu Changjing to make his move. That evening, while most of the eunuchs and maids were eating, Cao Shuyuan lured Kai Gu into the imperial study. General Manager Kai's Jr. has really outdone himself this year. If all goes well, he should be moving up the ranks soon. His Majesty was really impressed when he saw the report, especially when he found out he was your junior. He was pleasantly surprised. He has definitely caught His Majesty's attention. At the very least, he'll get a promotion. Cao Shuyuan laid it on thick, and Kai Gu was beaming. Commander Cao, you're too kind. If our junior is even half as skilled as you, we'll be more than happy. Cao Shuyuan used the emperor's name to promise Kai Gu's protégé a title, preying on his ambition without any real effort. Chapter 69, Achievement Again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With his heightened senses, Lu Changjing overheard their conversation. He immediately stopped his practice and pretended to study the memorial, waiting for Kai Gu to arrive with the food. Mr. Kai is here. Hearing the announcement, Lu Changjing called out, "Bring him in." Kai Gu, followed by Cao Shuyuan, entered the imperial study. The Jinwu guards closed the door, sealing off the interior. "Your humble servant pays respects to your majesty." Kai Gu immediately knelt and kowtowed, followed by Cao Shuyuan. "Rise," Lu Changjing said, gesturing for them to stand. They quickly thanked him. Looking at Kai Gu's expectant face, Lu Changjing smiled. I was just reviewing a memorial about your nephew, Kai Jing. It seems both you and Chief Cao have talented juniors. Your Majesty is too kind. My nephew's rapid rise and many contributions are thanks to your Majesty's reward from last year, Kai Gu said, his eyes welling up. Lu Changjing feigned surprise. How so? Didn't your Majesty reward this humble servant with a batch of miraculous medicines? One of them was perfect for my nephew, Kai Gu explained. With the help of those medicines, he advanced rapidly, reaching the top warrior level in a short time. He's arrested many thieves and gangsters, making significant contributions. Lu Changjing nodded. I see. Still, it's mostly due to his own efforts. Resources alone wouldn't guarantee such rapid progress. As they say, merit should be rewarded, regardless of kinship. Since your nephew has proven himself, he deserves a formal appointment. Come and get it. Lu Changjing picked up the document from the dragon desk and offered it to Kai Gu. In the Daning dynasty, high-ranking officials received books of appointment, while lower-level officials received imperial decrees. This book, also called an imperial edict, was for Kai Gu's nephew's promotion to Jinzhang chief of the Ministry of Justice, responsible for theft, public safety, and crime. A definitely senior position. Frankly, Jin Zhang's rank as head lawman was nearly equal to Zhao Yindi, Zhao Jintian's younger brother and sheriff of Yinshan County. Kai Jing's promotion was largely due to his influential uncle, Kai Gu, to push his nephew forward. Kai Gu secretly used his influence to engineer many of Kai Jing's supposed achievements. Cao Shuyuan had informed Lu Changjing of this, so Kai Jing would be a lawman in name only. Thank you, Your Majesty. Hearing that Lu Changjing was offering him the book of appointment, Kai Gu became excited and cautiously stepped forward to receive it. Soul shock. Cao Shuyuan, who had been waiting for this moment, unleashed his spiritual magic, instantly disrupting Kai Gu's mind. Soul snare. Simultaneously, Lu Changjing used the secret technique from the Secret Soul Sutra, his eyes flashing with an irresistible power. Soul extraction. In a split second, a soul-extracting hook plunged into Kai Gu's spiritual sea, stealing a wisp of his soul. Kai Gu had never imagined such an attack and was completely unprepared. Combined with Cao Shuyuan's assistance, Kai Gu's spiritual defense was useless, and his soul was easily taken by Lu Changjing. Looking at the dazed Kai Gu, Lu Changjing smiled. Kai Gu, wondering why I'm enslaving you? I wouldn't dare, Kai Gu stammered, kneeling. Your Majesty must have his reasons. I will serve without complaint. Lu Changjing scoffed. I know you want to know why, and I won't hide it. It's because you listen to Cao Wenjing too much. Ah. Kai Gu looked up, surprised. Has Mr. Cao angered your Majesty? Lu Changjing nodded. Haven't you heard the rumors? The late emperor appointed Cao Wenjing and others as regents, to assist me in ruling the Daning dynasty. But they became arrogant, especially as they saw my interest in cultivation grow. They started to ignore me. They secretly colluded with demons to profit, disregarding the dynasty's safety. I've placed several of them under house arrest. Should Mr. Kai help me eliminate these rebellious traitors? Kai Gu was sweating. He never suspected Cao Wenjing would dare to hold the emperor captive. Despite being a grand tutor and regent appointed by the late emperor, such actions were treason. No wonder His Majesty wanted to enslave him, concerned that he listened to Cao Wenjing too much. Enslavement was a form of control. To be honest, Kai Gu wouldn't have obeyed Cao Wenjing so completely if he hadn't been a grand tutor, trusted by the late emperor, and a regent, precisely because Kai Gu had his own selfish motives and wasn't fiercely loyal to Cao Wenjing. Lu Changjing chose him as a target. Enslaving a fiercely loyal subordinate would be a waste of time and risk exposure. Thanks to Cao Wenjing and Ning Zhongyu's deception, Kai Gu believed Lu Changjing was the real emperor. Thus, when asked to choose, Kai Gu didn't hesitate to side with Lu Changjing, becoming the emperor's man to secretly monitor Cao Wenjing. Moreover, Cao Shuyuan, Cao Wenjing's adopted son, demonstrated his loyalty by betraying his own family, making the situation even more believable for Kai Gu. while Kai Gu had done some questionable things, colluding with demons, it was always under Xuanhuan's orders. He hadn't actively sought out evil deeds, his main flaw was ambition, a desire to climb the ranks and ensure his descendants entered officialdom, creating a powerful clan. Otherwise, he was reasonably trustworthy. After being enslaved, Xuanhuan was similar. He wasn't inherently evil. Otherwise, after replacing Ning Zhongyu, he might have rewarded them with poison. Chapter 70, Actual Combat Surges. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Kai Gu was beaten down with threats to his family and the promise of future rewards, he was completely under Lu Changjing's control and became a spy reporting on Xuanhuan. Plus, the soul hook could sense his thoughts through a fragment of his soul, so Lu Changjing wasn't worried about Kai Gu or Xuanhuan turning on him. Even if they did, Lu Changjing would know in advance and could escape the palace, ready to strike back later. Besides, given Xuanhuan's track record and personality, anyone with a conscience would have a hard time being loyal to him. How many people would sell out thousands of their own people to demons for resources and treasures? Of course, some Jinwu and palace eunuchs were genuinely loyal to Xuanhuan, so Kai Gu and Xuanhuan would need to be careful in their actions. Through Kai Gu, Lu Changjing had acquired a bunch of magical tools and resources, upgrading all his own gear to top-tier quality. With these tools, Lu Changjing's strength rivaled even high-level masters. He usually kept these weapons hidden in the Azure Void Ring, bringing them out only when necessary. After Kai Gu left, in a mixed emotional state, Lu Changjing went back to his training, with Kai Gu on the inside of the Jinwu and Xuanhuan inside the Qianqing Palace. Lu Changjing's position was becoming safer all the time. If the timing was right, he could even launch an attack on Xuanhuan, but it wasn't time yet. It was more important to keep building up his strength and avoid unnecessary risks. Only half a year had passed, and he still had 2.5 to 3 years to go. That was plenty of time to break through to the Grandmaster level, or even higher. It was best to strike when he had overwhelming power. Also, Xuanhuan and Ning Zhongyu weren't the only heavy hitters in the traitorous faction. There was also the Minister of Personnel, the Minister of Punishment, and other Grandmasters. Even if Xuanhuan was taken care of, there were still others to deal with, and according to Xuanhuan and Kai Gu, some old monsters were hidden within the royal family, which acted as the Daning dynasty's last resort. These were all factors Lu Changjing needed to consider. It was a powerhouse that had been around for tens of thousands of years. Even though it had been declining recently, its foundation was still formidable. Lu Changjing believed he needed to reach the Grandmaster realm, and then some, to truly take down the Daning dynasty. Until then, he had to be careful. Unless he had no other choice, staying under the radar was the best option. Being able to train in peace helped Lu Changjing improve much faster. Soon, his body cultivation broke through its limitations, reaching the 5th level Grandmaster level. A few days later, Lu Changjing attacked the bottleneck of soul cultivation, also breaking through in one go and entering the 5th level soul refining Grandmaster level. His spirit, energy, and body were now on par, all at the 5th level Grandmaster realm, even surpassing Ning Zhongyu. According to Xuanhuan and Kai Gu, Ning Zhongyu's chi cultivation had reached the 6th level Grandmaster level. His body cultivation was only at the 4th level, and his spirit refining was even worse, only at the 3rd level. Even with these accomplishments, Ning Zhongyu was still praised as the once-in-a-millennium prodigy of the great Ning dynasty. Lu Changjing was only 22 years old, yet he was already better than Ning Zhongyu. Could he be considered a prodigy among prodigies? He chuckled and stopped thinking about it. He'd improved too much too fast. Even though his foundation was solid, he wasn't fully adapted to the sudden surge in power. In this state, Lu Changjing couldn't even use half of his true fighting strength, so he needed to adjust as quickly as possible. Besides, with Xuanhuan to spar with, Lu Changjing was adapting much faster, gaining valuable combat experience and skills. Before, he'd focused solely on hard training, neglecting his skills. Now he could finally make up for that. Lu Changjing learned a lot of combat experience and skills from Xuanhuan, further increasing his overall strength. He realized how narrow his previous thinking had been. If he didn't fix this, even with a strong foundation and mastery of both spirit and body, he wouldn't be able to fight enemies who were more skilled. Fortunately, he realized this issue in time. Only by addressing it could he unleash his full combat potential. The eunuchs and maids around the imperial study had been bribed and threatened. They wouldn't dare to disclose any information from here. Even if they noticed anything suspicious, they wouldn't breathe a word to anyone. Brother Jing, my compliments. While practicing one day, he heard someone sneaking in through the small opening in the skylight. He turned and saw concubine Jean, Xiao Yaoxin. She was wearing a simple white palace dress, showcasing her unique, sophisticated persona. Her face was soft and beautiful, like a painting. Her gently sloping eyebrows gave her an even more serene demeanor. She was lightly made up, and her aura carried a faint floral fragrance. Her eyebrows were delicate, and her skin was radiant in the soft breeze. Her delicate little face was still a bit shy, and he wondered what she was thinking about. The food box in her hand wasn't large, but it gave off a strong medicinal aroma, which was obviously a variety of edible medicinal ingredients, while the taste might not be as good as some spirit fruits, wines, and meats. The effects were far greater. Xiao Yaoxin was obviously here for a specific reason, not simply for snacking. Tossing aside the meaningless report, Lu Changjing walked over to Xiao Yaoxin, picked her up playfully, and carried her to the back. Now's here. I've been waiting for you. Feeling the warmth on her face, Xiao Yaoxin buried her head in Lu Changjing's arms, too embarrassed to look up. Even though they had been sharing delicacies, this still made Xiao Yaoxin blush, who was a naturally reserved person. If she didn't want to compete with Lin Yisan and Tan Qingyun to have the first prince, Xiao Yaoxin probably wouldn't have come on her own, but when he was with Xiao Yaoxin, Lu Changjing needed to prompt her more to have her prepare medicinal-infused delicacies for him. This concubine wasn't as proactive as Tan Qingyun and Lin Yisan. Besides the sweetness, the medicinal cuisine made by Xiao Yaoxin also had a hint of medicinal fragrance, which left people feeling refreshed and had a unique appeal. Since time traveling, Lu Changjing had tasted the delights of 3 concubines, among which Tan Qingyun's saliva. No, the cuisine was primarily sweet, sugary, and delicious. Lin Yisan's was fragrant, subtle, and lingered. Xiao Yaoxin's was medicinal, which helped clear the mind. Yet you didn't want to stop. Each had its unique strengths. He'd only taken a few bites of Xiao Yaoxin's treats when he heard a voice from outside. Empress Yi is here.